Hi there, and today I'm talking about Durers Eye, and I'm talking about Durers Eye in relation to the catchlight, which, as you'll probably know, refers to a specular highlight, which is visible in the eye of typically of a portrait subject. And the catchlight essentially is a reflection on the surface of the eye of a light source which is in some position of proximity to the subject. So if we look at this, the Durer self-portrait 1500, this is Durer at the age of 28, apparently. And if we look at this image, this is just a kind of fit to screen in Photoshop. And here we can see fairly clearly the catchlights in the eyes. They aren't, they aren't particularly sort of distinct, but they're definitely there. And of course, catchlights always give a certain sort of life to the subject's eyes. And I think the catchlights kind of tell us that this is, we recognize this as a sort of element of realism. This is what happens in the real world. And we perhaps realize that the subject is, we are seeing or being shown the subject in natural light. However, with Photoshop and what is fairly high resolution image, it's about a 5K image, this one. If we then zoom into 100%, we're looking at his beard, but if we just move down here, and this is the thing which really struck me when I did this, is if you look at the catchlights, the way he's rendered these catchlights in the eyes, they are incredibly realistic, and he's showing us the reflection of what looks to me like some kind of window with the daylight coming in through the window. And it's a bit difficult to make out exactly, but what I'm seeing is sort of areas of light and sort of vertical and horizontal bars, which I'm supposing represent the elements in the frame of the window itself. On the other eye, we do have some slightly unfortunate marks on this painting, but again we can see that Durer's gone to considerable trouble to render this complex reflection. Now, if we just take a look at a photograph, this is just a photographic portrait, and this again is about a 5K image, and we can see here this is a portrait which was taken outdoors with quite good natural light, quite strong natural light in a kind of urban setting. And here, as we zoom in, we can see a lot of detail. We can see these buildings and the sky, and we can identify, particular details that were present and which are reflected in the eye. Similarly, if we look at this is another portrait image where we can see the subject is in fact looking out towards a window, and this window, you can probably detect this sort of crisscross pattern of this kind of mullion feature on this window. So once again, this is quite a complex highlight in the eye, where we're seeing this this reflection. So this is just to say, this is the kind of thing we can achieve with a photograph without really trying terribly hard. I mean, as long as we can get it in focus, we can see this complex highlight reflection. And of course we can edit this, we can enhance this if we need to. Just turning to another very famous painting, this is one of the Rembrandt self-portraits from 1659. Just for a comparison, you can see Rembrandt's approach to rendering catchlights in the eye. He's much simpler and much less ambitious, really. He's got this kind of reflected sort of pinpoint of light here, and he's showing us the light reflected in the eye itself. But it seems clear to me that in comparison, Rembrandt wasn't terribly interested in the catchlight in the eye. He wanted to show it, but he didn't really want to go into a lot of detail with it. Whereas I think this is the extraordinary thing about the Durer, is the trouble that he has gone to render this highlight in the painting. And when we think that the average viewer of this painting, I mean, if you imagine if you went into a art gallery and you were able to sort of stand, probably several feet away from this painting, this is the kind of impression you would get. I mean, you would not even be able to see the detail that he has painted into the eyes here. You would, most probably have the same sort of impression we're getting here, which is, yes, there is a catchlight, but no way would you be able to appreciate the incredible detail that he's applied to it. And as I say, what really impressed me looking at this was that Durer in 1500 was creating this essentially photographic level of detail in a painting, which I think is extraordinary and really noteworthy. It tells us a lot about Durer's approach to painting and attention to detail. And of course, the other question which we want to ask ourselves is, well, how did he do it? Because how did he observe this level of detail in the eye? Because obviously, normally, at a sort of respectable distance from the subject, we, in the same fashion as with this view of the painting, we might be aware that there is a catchlight in the eye, but we certainly wouldn't be able to observe this incredible detail, which we can see in the photograph, but we can also see in the Durer painting. And it seemed to me that he can only have done this using a mirror, that he must have, I suggest, he must have used a mirror to observe his eyes. But then, I suppose, practically, one sort of thinks, well, it would be rather difficult to observe his eye and paint on the canvas at the same time. So whether he was able to sort of commit this to memory and then render it into the painting, I really don't know. I don't think we will ever know, but I think it might be reasonable to assume that some kind of arrangement with a mirror, given that self-portraits were usually done with a mirror anyway, that Durer was, in some fashion, was able to observe the catchlights in his eyes sufficiently well to be able to create this rendering of them. And I suppose really this whole exercise is really just sort of, to some extent, talking about, once again, about these relationships between painting and photography, and also the way that Photoshop enables us to examine paintings to a level of detail which is really quite remarkable, and enables us to observe and see and understand detail in the painting which we would not be able to appreciate any other way. So there we are. I hope a bit of a curiosity there, but I hope you find that interesting, and perhaps you're encouraged to use Photoshop to look at some of these wonderful, very high-res images of paintings which are freely available through Wikipedia, Google Commons, and so on. So thanks very much for watching and listening, and see you soon.